tea time. Did you hear the story the man told about how one night he got up to go to Target, but when he got there, he couldn't believe his eyes. It looked like he was in the club. He said they had Anita Baker playing on the loudspeaker, everybody walking around dressed up. He was like, what in the world? Did they turn this into a singles meet and greet? So he decided to vibe and check out the prospects because there was a lot of beautiful women in there. And then when he turned one corner, a woman was there and he looked down and was like, oh my gosh, that is mine. He loved that woman. He was like, she is so beautiful. And she looks at him and she says, hey, Tom. She knows who he is. Now, he's a social media personality, a comedian. He does a lot of different things. So people often come up to him and knowing who he is and interacting with him as though they're friends. So he played it cool and was like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And she's like, oh my gosh, I saw your video. I loved it. It was so funny. Me and my friends was laughing. And he was like, yeah, that was a funny video as she described the video. He was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. And he started vibing with her. They just started shopping together, going around from aisle to aisle. They end up spending more than an hour together in that store. And by the end of it, he's looking at her like, wow, I really think she's the one. He said, honestly, I fell in love. Well, during this time, they talking about one of his gigs, which is as an insurance broker. And she's like, here's my number. How about you come to the house? I bring my family and you can give insurance quotes for all of us and we can all, partake in your services. And he's like, cha-ching on 2 levels. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So he gives her the number. And afterwards she contacted him and said, okay, so you're going to come on this day, but how about you come at 7:00 and then everybody else will be there at 8. And then we can move forward and have dinner together and everything. And he's like, ooh, he's so excited, like, wow, because he's single. He's like, come on now, I'm trying to be somebody that's gonna love me too, and I love this woman already. So he get himself together, get his beard done, get his hair cut, smelling all good, looking all fresh. He's like, yes, this is the woman of my dreams. I'm about to go see her at her house. He walks up to the door all confident and happy and rings the doorbell. And when she opens the door, she's like, hey, Tom. And then out steps her husband. He's like, she's married? Oh my God, he's about to choke. Like, I can't believe this. But he goes in the house anyway, playing it cool, playing it professional, and he's looking around the house. Now, he has a lot of experience meeting with couples, talking about their burial plans, their life insurance plans, who's the beneficiary. So he can kind of read people. And he's getting a funny vibe that maybe this couple isn't really that happy. So he goes about doing his business, and she's still treating him like she was treating him in the store. She was treating him like she was flirting with him, like she really liked him, and showing that extra care to him. And even when her family showed up and everybody was mingling and things like that, she was still giving him a little bit of extra attention where everybody was looking like, ooh, like when the food was served. The first plate that come out, it usually go to your man, the head of the household. But why when she fixed this food, she brought it straight to him, leaned over on him, and kissed him on the forehead in front of her whole family. And everybody looking at him like, oh, and he just looking detached. Like, he's looking like he's not even there in that situation. Well, after he wrapped everything up, give people their quotes and everything, he's like, well, it's time for me to go. Thank you so much for having me. He walks into their mud room. He's sitting down, getting ready to put on his shoes and everything to leave. And she comes up. She's like, thank you so much for coming, but I got to tell you something. And she grabs his hand and she places it on her pom pom. And she's like, well, I just want to let you know that I really want more. But there's so much more to the situation that I got to tell you, and maybe later, if you'll give me a chance. And he's like, what? And then somebody interrupts him and comes in to ask for more information. And he said, okay, yeah, let me give you this flyer. And he leaves. And as he's going home, he's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be with no married woman. But he realizes, I'm in love with her. I already love her. Maybe she's going to leave him. I don't know. But I don't want to be the type to be waiting around for no married woman. Like, oh my gosh. And he decides, I'm just going to let it go. So he goes home. He's not trying to contact her, not trying to be, all up in her face, but he ends up getting sick, and he's so sick, and he's single, and he's like, I wish somebody would come take care of me. And as he says that, his phone rings, and it's her checking up on him. Are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm sick. She pops up, immediately comes over to his house, takes such good care of him. He said it's a difference between somebody doing something for you and somebody actually caring for you. A person who actually cares for you will lay in the bed with you while you're sick, will make sure you feeling warmth and all the extra things you need besides the medicine and stuff that you need. And she did all that for him. And while she's taking care of him, she tells him, look, I got to tell you what's going on with my husband. The night before our wedding, he ends up cheating on me and telling me about it. And it kind of hurt our marriage, you know, because I was disappointed, he was disappointed, but we had made so many plans that I decided to go through with it. And I shouldn't have, but I did. And afterwards, he kind of checked out from the relationship. It was like he didn't want to keep moving forward, so I kept trying. And he was like, wow, so y'all not going to go to counseling? She said, there's nothing more we can do at this point because it seems like he just doesn't want it. And by the end of that time of her taking care of him, he was even more in love. And he was like, well, are you going to get a divorce? And she said, yes, I am. Because she said she's feeling the same way. So eventually, a couple of days later, he goes with her to the divorce lawyers, and then they drafting the papers and filling things out, and he's feeling hopeful. And he's like, well, you want to come live with me? And she's like, yes, let's do that. So he's all excited getting this house together, like, come on, you know, let's, I'm about to start this new life. I know this ain't right. I know this not how it's supposed to be, but you know what? I'm just going to take my chance because I love her. And then he calls and is like, what's up? When you coming? And she don't answer. And he's like, okay, well, you know, I don't want to be a bugaboo, but he calls her again, and she don't answer. He texts her again, and she don't answer. 3 days go by, she hasn't even responded. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people. And finally, she reaches out to him, and she calls him, and she says, hey, Tom. And he's like, uh-oh, something's wrong. Because she never calls him Tom. She always calls him babe, baby, handsome, sexy, or something like that. But this time, she just said, listen, Tom, I got to tell you, I can't go through with it. I can't get a divorce. I can't move in with you. We have to break this off. I'm going to stay with my husband. And he's like, what? What happened? And she says, well, my husband... He tried to unalive himself by jumping off of a bridge, and he actually survived it. So now he's all in shambles, and somebody needs to take care of him, and I'm going to do it. I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. Of course, he's devastated, like, oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I'm in love with this woman. I thought this was my chance to finally find somebody that I'm connected with. I loved her. But he had to let it go because he's a mature man. He lets it go. Moves on with his life. A year later, he's still single, and he runs into her in the street, and he's like, yo, what's going on with you? How you doing? What happened? And she says, well, we ended up getting a divorce. And he's like, you did? And she says, yeah. And she said, and remember when I told you that my husband cheated? It turns out that he didn't cheat with a woman. He had cheated with his best friend, a man. And when he finally told me what happened, the best friend had been blackmailing him, and that's why he checked out of the relationship emotionally, because he didn't know what to do. This man was holding this information because the man had videos, and he was threatening to release them if I didn't continue to sleep with him. And that's why he couldn't fight for our relationship. So now he's in a home, and I'm moving on with my life. So he looks at her, he smiles and thinks, wow, you know, life goes on. He gives her a hug and says goodbye and goes on about his day. As he's walking, he's looking around the city, and he has a thought. Maybe I should get dressed up and go back to Target tonight.